Welcome back to the Pesky Report, episode 468, presented by Beyond the Monster. I'm Jordan, joined by Jack and Brian. How you boys doing today?
Great.
Doing good.
And back to our usual crew. Only one of us was here on the weekend, and then for the weekday show, you got two of us with Kev. So back to our usual weekend show. Red Sox with a 3-game set in Kansas City. And we'll get into those games momentarily. But since Jack and I were on the weekday show, we got to give a fairly raw reaction to the Rafael Devers situation. The dust has sort of settled on that. Sam Kennedy, John Henry, Craig Breslow all flew out to Kansas City to talk with Devers and kind of get out in front of it. Well, I guess not necessarily out in front of it, but, kind of voice their side of the ordeal. So there's a little bit more to it now, but like I said, Jack and I got to give our thoughts on it. Brian did not. I would love to hear what Brian has to say about the Rafael Devers first base situation.
Yeah, it's funny. Henry kind of avoided, media, for the last couple of years and put his foot in his mouth, and then this comes about and they fly everybody out, and it seems like he's a lot more active this year. And then the first base thing, something I picked up on, and I'm sure you guys probably did too. I don't know if it's as bad as like when Daisuke was with the team, but it seems like there's a big gap between translation of what like first what the Red Sox translators are saying. And then I don't know if I hate to ever even do this because there's a lot of really credible journalists that are just kind of like, well, this is what was said.
We lost.
Oh, you lost me? I'm here. No? Hello? Can you hear me?
You're back.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't notice that I left, but whatever. But basically just saying how like, it seems like I talked to some people who Spanish is their first language, and they're like, no, that's not what he said at all. First it was like, I'm not doing it. But then they said, I'm not doing it right away because like, it's a big transition for me. So it's going to take a while and he's not ruling it out. But like, I saw a lot of people that I respect, people, that I read journalist wise that are like, no, he said he's absolutely not going to do it. And I'm like, well, what is it? So then and then you're right, the story breeds a little bit and people go like, okay, well, no, he actually said this, or he might've said this, or I think Henry walked out of a room and one of the reporters, Catillo maybe, or somebody was like, oh, well, hey, he's like, I'm not going to talk about it. It's like, oh, you flew all the way out here. You're the owner of the team. Like, basically, it's your way of the highway. What's the story? And like, they don't want to talk about it. So the whole thing is just weird. I still think, it's also too convenient that now all of a sudden Devers is hitting really well. So like, it's like, oh, well, I think part of me, because, just the way I think, I'm like, oh, he thinks of himself as a position player. And it's really hard to pinch hit 4 times in a game. I mean, like I said, last show that I did with you guys, Ortiz would literally be on the cell phone, hit a home run, and then get back on the cell phone and finish the conversation. Like, that's not human. No one can do that I know of. I mean, that's just crazy town, But like, Devers has kind of figured it out. He had a really good game today. I think, all the numbers are kind of trending up for him. So maybe that's not a factor. He's comfortable. And now they want him to play first base now. So like, I kind of get it because he's like, I finally figured it out. I'm finally comfortable. But long term, it's like, do I want to see Nick Sogard play, 135 games at first base? No. They got Rizzo. Did they really get Rizzo? Was that real? I mean,
that was fake.
Or was it? Yeah, I'm like, really? Like, come on, it's like, you're like, oh, wait a minute, But yeah, they need to figure something out. And I just don't want them to give up one of these guys in the minors that is going to be a big thing in a year or two just to plug a temporary hole when they can put Devers there, no problem. But I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces. Does Bregman come back next year? If he doesn't, what does Devers do? Is Devers just a DH the rest of his career now? Guerrero, I remember him playing first base when he first started. I'm like, he's awful. Like, he couldn't hold people on. He had nowhere to go. He had no position-wise. He was awful. I don't know. I kind of look at what like Lou Maloney said. He's like, the easy thing is for him just to play first. But then like, it's all over the place where it's like, oh, well, Story can play. Well, Story sucks now. But then Story hits a home run the other day. So it's like, it's a hot take police, and then there's a reaction to it. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's it is a big decision, and it's nice to see the ownership get off their ass and kind of talk to them about it instead of just kind of like, okay, well, it'll fix itself, because then, it's Cora, and then you don't really know what's going on. But long term, I think he's probably your best bet, because I just don't see there's like journeymen that are going to play first base, and that's just not going to work.
Do you think he'll end up playing first base?
Possibly. I mean, I think he's got to take some ground balls and see what happens. But I mean, they got to figure something out. And then, see, I still think Story's going to get hurt at some point soon. Maybe like he's already hurt, and we just don't know it yet. And then Meyer comes up, but I mean, you're not going to have Anthony play first. You're not going to have. I mean, they could have brought up Grissom, but they brought up Sogard instead. So they probably still don't think Grissom can do it. I'm guessing maybe. But then I also think that I think last show we did, they really want to have first base be a left-handed position for some reason, just because of balance. I think eventually he'll take some ground balls and kind of see how it goes. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, I mean, I don't know. I know Jordan's not married yet, Jack. I don't know what's going on, behind the scenes with you, but I can come up with a great idea and my wife will shit on me and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, and then a week later she'll come up with the same idea, and all of a sudden it's the best idea in the world. And I'm not saying that Devers is a diva by any stretch, but if he all of a sudden thinks, oh, well, geez, maybe I should give this a shot, it really help the team. They're like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. We'll go with that. And I think Devers is kind of. I know people want to the cop out is to compare him to the man child Manny Ramirez, and he's not quite that. I mean, he has kids, he's intelligent, he's a really smart guy, but I think Devers just kind of needs to convince himself, and then that's a lot easier instead of just like, oh, by the way, yeah, put your glove away. Oh, we changed our mind. Now go play first. That's just a lot. So
Yeah, I feel like the timeline is a little muddy as opposed like when it even happened that Breslow approached him about it. Like if it was right after Casas got hurt, could Devers have even computed that that might be an illegitimate ask of him? If it was 2, 3, 4 days later, that's a different story. But yeah,
right.
no, it's getting it's weird. Like some of the takes that have come out about Devers because of him saying he doesn't want to play first. Like I've seen some crazy things proposed. Like I know Chris Rose said that he thinks they're going to trade him. That's not
Yeah.
going to
So I don't.
happen.
No
That's
way.
I'm gonna stake my claim now that Rafi Devers is not going to get traded by the Boston Red Sox. There's
Right.
some people that have said he's quit on the team. We'll get into
Yeah,
the
he really
games
quit
this
today.
weekend. Yeah, we'll get into the games eventually from this weekend. I don't think that's if he's quitting, I would love to see him try and play baseball because he's killing the ball. And yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. The jury's still out on whether or not he'll actually play it. I feel like it'll be kind of like DH was, and it's just like randomly later this month or middle of next month, Devers is just gonna be penciling at first base. We're gonna be like, he was fucking taking ground balls. Like, when did that happen? And that's just gonna be how it goes. I think they'll probably eventually plug that hole with an external option, but I think there's a chance that Rafi plays a handful, a smattering of games at first base, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, Jack, do you think now that the dust has kind of settled, if there's any real possibility that Devers plays first base?
I don't think there was ever a possibility he 100% wouldn't to begin with, because
Yeah.
we already did the DH routine where he was mad about it for a day and said, I don't want to do it. And then he showed up to work the next day and was like, okay, I guess I'm doing it. So, like, I think it was always in the cards. And I think the disconnect between Breslow and Cora, allegedly, that Cora hadn't at all mentioned it to him, and that Cora, at least publicly, said he had no interest in doing it. And granted, maybe he just knew Devers would react this way, and so he didn't want to like start saying stuff before having a conversation. But either way, if Alex Cora says, "Hey, I want you to go do the thing," he might like frown for a little bit, but then he'll go do the thing. So it's definitely possible. It just depends how the roster construction goes and if any internal option or quick band aid in terms of like a minor league trade guy establishes themselves as credible.
Yeah, and it doesn't appear like it's going to be Vaughn Grissom because even today he was in the lineup at second base for Worcester, and Nathan Hickey played first. And
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, you know, we'll see how quickly it takes Romy to come back. Because he was playing pretty well. I think it's kind of funny that Nick Sogard gets called up and immediately Abraham Toro no longer exists on the roster. Like you couldn't call up Sogard initially when Casas got hurt, but then Romy gets hurt, and you're like Sogard every day first base. That's that's what happens. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see how things progress going forward. But I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that Rafi Devers has not given up on the Boston Red Sox. He
Yeah.
seems to be doing just fine, and will continue to do so. But yeah, so
Jordan, what do you think? What do you think the other move is, though? So let's say he does play first. What do you guys think about DH then? Do they just use it as like a day off thing, or do they get a full-time DH, or is it still Massa is going to be the DH? Like Massa is not. He hit the home run in spring training, but has he played any games in Worcester? He has. No, yes, maybe because he can't play the field. But he's taking batting practice and rehab supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, he said he can't
Allegedly.
throw. He said he can't
Yeah.
throw. It hurts to throw. It does not hurt to swing. So
Okay.
if I imagine if Devers to first base becomes a real possibility, then Massa will probably go out on rehab. And if it never actually becomes a possibility, Massa will just continue to cease to exist
Okay.
until he can throw a baseball. Then they'll put him on rehab in left field. It's weird because he's still not on the 60-day, right? Like he's still on the 10 or 15 or whatever. He's not on the 60-day yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's on the 10.
So I think the very easy roster move to get Roman Anthony in the major leagues is to just put Massa on the 60 because he's already been on the IL for about 45, so without a rehab assignment. But yeah, I think it'll end up being Massa if Devers goes to first base, or if it's immediate, which I don't think it would be. Then I think that's probably how you get Roman to the majors, and you'll filter in whether it be Willier a game, Duran a game, just to keep his bat in the lineup or his legs on the field. Maybe Bregman gets a day here and there, and then obviously Rafi's not going to play first every single day. You still want to protect his body because I honestly still think if Devers hadn't fallen off in the second half the last few years and dealt with injuries, there's still a decent chance that they would have just rolled into 2025 with him as the third baseman and had no real qualms about it. But who knows?
Do you anticipate Jordan though, because he has DH'd and he might play first, that he won't have that September drop off where he hits 154 and strikes out a bunch because he's going to be a little healthier going to the end of the year?
Well, if he's not dealing with injury, like I mean, we saw basically like September Devers looked like Barry Bonds compared to March Devers. Like he just couldn't make contact with the baseball, and now he's like, I mean, he definitely, after watching the Netflix doc, I will concede that he looked a little fat in camp, like relative to even how he looked in the past. But he seems to have kind of shed the weight a little bit. Like he looks much better physically, and it's not just because he's hitting the ball. But he looks fine, and as long as he doesn't hurt himself, I think the drop off was more to injury because I think in 2022 he had the hamstring strain or something that he played through for a bit. 2023, I don't remember what the deal was with him in 2023, but then last year, obviously the knee and both shoulders and his back and everything. So hopefully that's not a problem this year. Even if
I'm just wondering. I'm wondering though, if the injuries is the shoulder just from overswinging, and that him playing the field or not playing the field has no bearing on it. Because I mean, sometimes you've seen it, like the first pitch, or he's looking for a fastball. He swings so hard, and I mean he throws the ball to first base, but I don't know what his velocity is to the base. It's probably average or whatever, but it's definitely the swings is the blunt force trauma to his body that occurs when he's on the field.
Yeah, although one of his shoulder injuries last year happened in Colorado when he dove for a ball, which he landed kind of funny.
Yep.
But I don't know if that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back there, or if whatever it was. But that's when one of them at least appeared to have occurred.
Sure.
But yeah. Any last Devers thoughts before we get into the game of the series, which was game 1? Obviously. No. Alrighty. So yeah, game 1 of the series, we got a pitching matchup that I didn't necessarily view as a pitcher's duel at the outset. Hunter Dobbins against Michael Lorenzen. I thought Dobbins was going to pitch well. This is not a very good Kansas City lineup. It's got some talent in it. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. Dobbins looked fantastic in this game. Jack, what were your thoughts on Dobbins going into this one?
Yeah, I mean,
coming out of this one.
It's weird with Dobbins in the sense that, like, kind of the whole narrative we were told during spring training was like he needs a little more seasoning, but like there's a possibility he's going to contribute this year. And he kind of got thrust into it very early because Fitz went down and then Bueller and Cutter was never ready to go. So he kind of just ended up being here, early April. And he just keeps pitching well. And I don't know like how much I buy it in the sense that a lot of it seems to like every game he seems to succeed a different way. And it's like, I don't know, there isn't a consistent, like, this is how Dobbins is attacking hitters and getting them out thing. So I'm like, is this smoke and mirrors and he's just on a hot streak? Or is he just a guy who comes out every 5 days doing something different and shoving? But I mean, the slider looked great. The sweeper looked great. The velo was sitting at 96. And like, I don't love his curve. I think that's definitely something he needs to work more on, as I didn't really love that. And Bueller should be back soon. So that probably at this point will push him back to AAA, at least for a little bit, to work on those extra pitches. But he got the results he wanted, so you can't really be mad about it. I don't know how sustainable Dobbins shoving every single game is when he doesn't actually have a consistent way of attacking hitters.
He was dotting the corner a few times. I mean, he got Bobby Witt Jr. looking twice, right, in that game. Witt had a really weird series.
He did.
Only guy he hit well was Crochet, which was outrageous. But yeah, Dobbins got the 6 strikeouts. I think 4 were looking. You got India looking
Yeah,
once.
they were
I know
all
that.
on the lower inside corner to other right-handed batters, which was weird, but it kept happening, so I can't be mad about it.
Yeah, if it was to like a righty, to a lefty, it would make sense because I know David Price's specialty was that front door 2-seamer where he would get a lot of backwards Ks when he was with Boston. Dobbins is like, nope, I'm gonna ram it in the front door with a 4-seamer, and you're just gonna not swing at it. And even a couple misfires too that he hit that corner of the zone. 6 Ks, 5 hits, did not allow any runs, lowered his season ERA down to 2.78. I know a lot of people are raving about him nationally, about the kind of pitcher he has turned into for the Red Sox. Some people's favorite Twitter account, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's TJ Stats, who was dropping all the catch probabilities for Sadon last year, which made people fucking hate him. Really, really loves Hunter Dobbins, and he's at least forcing the Red Sox to make a difficult decision when Bueller comes back. At least from an outsider's perspective, maybe it's as simple as we're just going to keep Dobbins in AAA when Bueller comes back. And Fitz obviously is another option that'll come back eventually as well. Brian, what did you make of Dobbins' start and just your overall impressions of him so far in his 4-start MLB career?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had a decent game. He got sent down. It's like, oh, he needs to work on some things. And then we saw a couple guys get lit up who, maybe have a bit longer leash. You're like, well, gee, Hunter Dobbins could have done something in that game. And then you see a game like this, you're like, all right, we threw 81 pitches. Did they pull him out too soon? I don't know. But I mean, 6 innings, only gave 5 hits, struck out 6, didn't walk a guy. His ERA was down to 2.78 after that. But yeah, I thought he looked great. I mean, it's kind of like when you're bitching about your number 5 starter or whatever you want to say it. It's like those are problems everybody wants to have. Like, gee, really wish he couldn't have pitched 7 or 8 or 9 innings. It's like, well, I mean, nobody does that anymore. But I think that he did everything they asked of him. And I think that, if Walker Bueller did that, I think we'd be happy. If he pitched 6 innings and didn't about run, we'd be like, all right, are they going to hit? And then we found out later, it is what it is. But when you pitch that well, I'm sure that as a rookie or whatever, he's probably keeping his mouth shut. But I'd be bullshit that they didn't give me one fucking run that I could win that game because that's a gem. I mean, even that's a great game for anybody, let alone a rookie. Like just a fucking 2-run home run or something, man. It would have been the game.
Yeah, and the Royals entering the series were 15-2 in their last 17 games. Like they were absolutely rolling. The Kauffman Stadium, that's still what it goes by, right? They didn't change the name. Like Guaranteed Rate Field, just being Rate Field now drives me up a tree. But like that's become a very difficult place to play. And I don't know if it's the batter's eye in center field because I know that Middlebrooks made a point to bring that up like 3 straight innings about the batter's eye being difficult to pick up the ball, which, fair enough. It certainly gave the Red Sox fits facing Michael Lorenzen, who they made look like prime Pedro Martinez. That was one of the worst offensive showings of the year for the Red Sox, given the quality of pitcher they were facing. Like, Lorenzen's not terrible, but he's not very good. And like, to look like that against him, not necessarily the most inspiring performance. I think Devers got a hit. Yeah, Devers had probably the better swings off of him early in the game. I think what their first two hits were, Abraham Toro had an infield hit off of him, and then Connor Wong had like a flick into center field, I think, were the two hits or something like that. They were not very well hit baseballs off of Michael Lorenzen in this one. And then Rafael hit the double, which was a pretty well hit ball. But the Red Sox overall went 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Their only run came on a ground out from Devers in the 11th inning.
Yep.
The 11th
inning. Yeah.
Gross, disgusting, horrible. And yeah, I mean, and Trevor Story went 0 for 5 with a strikeout and lowered his season OPS down to 646. I know that Story is a very polarizing player right now. I, on Twitter, pronounced him dead at the scene in game 1, then proceeded to say I will give him game 2 to show life. And I also said I was going to bet on him to homer. I did not bet on him to homer. We'll get into that. But curious how much longer we think the leash is for Trevor before the noise really begins to get too loud for the Red Sox to keep playing him every day or even holding him on the roster. Jack, I'll kick it to you. Or how concerned are you about Stories as a player going forward and just his long-term, or I guess even short-term future with the Boston Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, honestly, because he's a player who throughout his career, both in Boston when he's played and also in Colorado when he actually played, he's a very streaky player. And we saw that this season. He came out firing on all cylinders, and right now, obviously, he had the home run yesterday and he had a hit today, but in general, he's kind of been going through it a little. And I think the defense, it hasn't been bad by any means, but I think he's underwhelmed with the glove, I think is fair to say, compared to like where people wanted him to be. Now, it's still good to have him at that position because he is something stable at shortstop, which this team has not had since Bogarts, I guess. But yeah, I mean, the noise is going to be there because when you have a guy like Meyer, who, was a top 5 pick in the draft and has hit at every level of the minors, and now is really knocking on the door, and people are trying to find a way to get him into the lineup. And, he's not going to replace Campbell, obviously, because that's another top prospect who's hitting. And he's not going to replace Bregman because that's a $30 million a year guy who's been the best player on the team to this point. So Story is kind of your only way to get Meyer into the lineup, unless, you do a Devers to first, free up the DH spot and rotate all the infielders through the DH spot, which I don't think they want to do, but they could theoretically. So the clock's ticking for Trevor. And could he end up being like a bench guy for them if like they don't want to bite the bullet on a DFA? Maybe. But I think if he's not hitting by like June 1st, I'd say, give him that like 2.5 more weeks. Yeah, I think you could see Marcelo starting at shortstop on this team. No questions asked.
Yeah, it was starting to get to the point for me where I was like, get Marcelo on the next flight to Kansas City. And then I was like, wait, Cole Reagan's game 2. I'll let Trevor live for one more day. I'll resuscitate for one more day. And we'll see what happens. Brian, what are your thoughts on Story? Like, where do you stand on? Do you want, like, are you already at the point where you're pronouncing him dead, or do you want to see a little bit more out of him before pulling the plug and going to Marcelo Meyer?
Yeah, he's a corpse. He's a corpse, plain and simple. And I think what's going to happen is, you're funny, Jack. You're talking about June 1st. So they play Atlanta around that time. They got a 3-game series in Atlanta. And maybe I'll take one for the team, maybe because I'm a team player. I think I maybe get him and Chris Sale a reservation for like some kayaking or some ATV rides or something, or a bike ride around downtown Atlanta. I don't know what I'll do. And Chris Sale and his great luck, will rub off on Story, and he might have something awful could happen. Not debilitating for the rest of his life, but just so that he can't play for the Red Sox at least for a little bit. And then you make a move, and you get a really good shortstop. He's another left-handed guy, which the Red Sox are addicted to like crack cocaine. So that's no problem there. So we'll make it work, and then the corresponding move, Mikey Romero then will go up as well, so everybody wins. He'll go up from, was it AA, wherever he is now, to up. So but yeah, that's a long-term move because don't get me wrong, Story, I love that, he did stuff at home with all the other players, and they all worked together, and they worked on their throws, and they told stupid jokes, and it was great. That's a good 5 minutes of TV to watch on YouTube when you don't want to mow your lawn. But realistically, it's like, who gives a shit? It's like you're hitting, what is he, 240 right now? I'm looking at his numbers, and it's kind of like, really, like it's not working. Yeah, and defensively, I don't think he's hurting you. But you got a guy who's basically going to take his job, and I can't find the story now, but I think they even asked Story about it, like, hey, how do you feel? And he's like, well, you got to show up, you got to do your job. But he's like, I know there's a stud in the minors who basically is going to play shortstop for the Red Sox at some point. It's Jordan, it's not like a Super 2 thing or something crazy, right, where they have to wait for service time? Is that a thing? Has anybody talked about that?
I think they've already passed the date for that.
Okay.
Wasn't that the April 10th or whatever was
so
the day?
long as Meyer doesn't finish top 2 in Rookie of the Year, which would overrule.
Now, is there a minimum number of games played for that award, like the NBA, where you got to play a certain number of games?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's not like they can if they call him up after the All-Star break and he could 500, but he didn't play more than 50% of the season, or they're just trying to cover their ass. Like, I get that, but no, it's time for him. I look at it like, okay, well, you put Devers at first, you have Massa play DH, and then you have Meyer play shortstop. I think your offense gets better than Devers at DH, some random, whatever, some guy who, you're going to change the channel in a spring training game who's playing first. And then it's like, then you got Story who, he walks into a home run every once in a while. And he's got like that Jackie Bradley thing where he's like in the zone for like a week or like a month. And then you look at the stats over the season, you're like, well, he wasn't complete dog shit. He did hit 20 home runs. It's like, no, he hit fucking 12 home runs like in a month and a half. And then he didn't do anything the rest of the season. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's time. The thing is, like, he's not a prick. He's not an asshole. You don't hear stories about him, how he's just a complete jerk. So you kind of feel for him. It's kind of like when Jackie was like not hitting. It's like, he's such a great guy. You hear all these great stories about him. So you just hate for bad things to happen to guys that aren't douchebags. Because sports in general, just a lot of stories, But and he's one of them. His last name Story. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's time for a move. I just don't know when it's going to happen at some point this year. I just don't know when.
Yeah, I do wonder when. Because I don't know. It's obviously going to be better than it has been for him. He's 9 for his last 67 or 68. So this is as bad as it's going to get, I would imagine. Like, maybe the slump lasts another game or two, maybe one more series tops, and then he'll get a couple hits in a game, or he'll suddenly have a 5 or 6 or 7 game stretch where he's hitting 350, even if it's all singles. He goes on a little Lou Merlone hitting streak. Something it's going to get better for him, but I don't know how much is it Story's performance versus the team's performance. If they kind of bottom out and they go on a 5-game losing streak and Story's just terrible for the entire 5 games, is that when you call somebody up? Or is it just a matter of, regardless of how the team is doing, we got to make a business decision because the product can get so much better if we go to Marcelo? I don't know. I don't know what it'll look like. He's got, he's hit 6 home runs, he's driven in 19, but he only has 2 other extra base hits all season out of his 39 hits. So, we'll see. His isolated power is down to 125. It's difficult. It's a tough watch right now. But everybody is a tough watch when they're slumping. I do wonder how much he's had elbow surgery on his right arm and he's had shoulder surgery on his left arm. Obviously in 2022, he broke his hand on his, I think it was his left hand, taking that pitch off of it. Then he also had a heel injury. Like, there's so much body trauma and just so much time spent not playing baseball that, to a degree, I almost wonder if the workload is getting to him early in the year. Like, I mean, today was his 40th game of the year. He played 26 all of 2024, and he only played 43 in 2023. So, like, we're already coming up on uncharted waters for him since 2022. So, I don't know. And maybe like a couple days off will do him some good, but we'll see. I mean, again, like 9 for his last like 68. Like, at a certain point, something's got to give. He's either got to have a 2 or 3 hit performance, or he's got to take a seat, whether it be on waivers or just on the bench, because it's becoming tough to watch.
There's no way he opts out though, Jordan, right? I mean, he's not going to get that money anywhere. It could be stupid. So he's definitely going to come back next year, and then you have 1 year after that, I think, and then you're off the hook. But I mean, you're gonna have to negotiate a buyout or something. I mean, there's no way. I mean, it's like $50 million over the next 2 years. You know?
Yeah, it's not an unmovable deal. Like, I still think it's not an unmovable deal. Like, if you were to eat 75% of it, you'd still save. Like, somebody would be willing to give Trevor Story, what, $8 million a year for the next 2 years? I still think so. Now, would that team end up just DFAing him mid-season in 2026? Maybe, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. There's still so much. Like, the season's a quarter of the way over, but there's also still 3/4 of the season left. Like, Story could end up with like a 110 WRC plus 25 home runs and 2.5, 3 WAR, and then you're like, well, like, could have been worse. We'll be laughing about this 9 for 68, but again, when you have a top 10 prospect chilling in AAA that plays your position, I feel like you could only dick around with it for so long before something's got to be done about it. We'll see. But
I'm just amazed he's been this healthy. I'm like, this is the longest stretch. This is just insane that he hasn't fallen, or his life alert bracelet hasn't gone off, or I don't know. I mean, like, I'm just something's going to happen with this guy. You're right. He's played a quarter of the season. I don't know how many games he's missed. Maybe he's had 1 or 2 days off, but this is amazing for him.
Yeah, they're what, 22 and 20 right now, or 21 and 20, 22 and 20.
Yeah.
He's played 40 games. So yeah, he's had 2 days off all year.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs a couple more. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, it almost kind of is starting to feel like it might be a game of chicken, where it's like, let's see if another shortstop on a big market team gets hurt before Trevor Story gets hurt, and then we could deal him there. And obviously we'd have to eat some of it, but they'd at least, have a hole they need to fill. But if Story gets hurt before any shortstops get hurt, then you're out of luck. And it honestly feels like that could be part of it, because even if you do get a lottery ticket for him, it's better than nothing. So, and I think that has been Breslow's approach to this point, is he really doesn't want to get nothing for guys. I think that's why, Massa is in exile rather than on Cincinnati Reds, because he wants to get something. So I think it could honestly just be, we're waiting for some team to lose their shortstop for the season, and we're going to bet Story hangs on longer than X shortstop around the league, which is risky because with Story, health is a concern, but could end up paying off.
Yeah, I do wonder how this all plays out in the end. I'm trying to look and see if he has a no trade clause in his deal, because if so, that's another wrinkle to it. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either.
I'm on Spot Track. I don't see any mention of his contract notes player can opt out after 2025 for $5 million, or team can opt back in, which if Craig Breslow does that, he's like, I loved him so much, I want to keep him until he's 35. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe it is that simple and it's just a game of chicken, but it's weird because Story, like Brian said, such a nice dude. Like, you want him to succeed, like similar to like Liam Hendricks, except Liam so far has had more success in 2025. albeit a much shorter sample. And Story obviously had his hot stretch already, so I don't want to completely negate that by this and pretend the slump is all that he's been. But like, you look at some of these other guys in the lineup. I mean, you had 6 hits as a team in 12 innings of play. Story was 0 for 5. Campbell's sputtering a bit. He was 1 for 5 in game 1. Connor Wong had a hit, but he struck out 3 times. His season OPS is down to 396. Slower than
He's a
Raffi's
fucking backup catcher. Yeah, he's a backup catcher now, right, on this team, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's how I look at
I
him
would
now.
say so. I think
Yeah.
I think the plug has kind of been pulled on him as the starter for sure. I mean, Narvaez got the last 2 games of the series. You won both of them. I think they're 17-10 when Narvaez starts. Or 17-12 or something when Narvaez starts. So they've found something in him. But now the question, I guess it's a little dramatic of a question, but at what point do we start talking about Connor Wong getting sent down? Is that even a possibility? Or does he go to the bench and start playing like all these other positions and David Hamilton goes down? Because I think at a certain point, you got to start considering Yasmani Grandal, right? At some point, you're not going to carry 3 catchers. So does Connor become a utility guy that catches sparsely? Or does Connor get sent down and, Massa goes to the 60-day and Yasmani comes up? I don't know. Because I really do think that he's been good defensively this year for the most part. He's not good enough to be your backup catcher because he's not going to hit. And the sample size is too small with him defensively for me to buy him as a legitimate breakout defensive backstop. But it's saving him right now from going below replacement level. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that Hamilton's the guy who goes down, just because I do think Wong being a right-handed bat with flexibility is at least something. And the fact that I think there is kind of a hope that Wong can get hot at some point. And as every day passes, that hope becomes, smaller and smaller. But we've seen him, go through hot streaks. Obviously, last year was probably his strongest offensive season. This year has been a disaster to this point. But he can give you multiple positions. He could fill in at first if you needed. He can catch. Like, at least there's more things you can maybe get out of him versus Hamilton, where it almost feels like, and I'm a David Hamilton guy in general, but the results haven't been there. And it almost feels like they're trying to force ways to get Hamilton into the lineup in ways that don't feel natural. It just feels like, well, we have to play him because he's here, versus at least on Raw and Romy days, it feels purposeful. It's not just because Rob and Romy are on the bench. So I think if someone is going down, it is David Hamilton. But the clock is going to tick for Wong if he keeps being unable to hit, because Grandal is a proven major league catcher.
Yeah, and last year Connor Wong was a 284 hitter with a 110 WRC plus with runners in scoring position. This year he is 0 for 18. 20 plate appearances. He's walked twice, so I'll give him his flowers there. But he's struck out 45% of the time. Quick math, 9 times he has struck out in 18 at bats, 20 plate appearances with runners in scoring position. I mean, that is just. I mean,
this is his Devers strike out.
Yeah. But it's just with runners in scoring position. With nobody on base, I think he's hitting 300 this year. Yeah, he's with nobody on.
We hit him
he is
leadoff?
literally. Yeah, seriously. I mean, Duran has been struggling lately too. I mean, the fix of the Red Sox lineup is Connor Wong gets more at bats. Yeah, but he's 5 for. It's crazy. He's got more plate appearances with runners in scoring position than with the bases empty this year, and he's the 7 hitter in the lineup. He's 5 for 16 with the bases empty. He's 0 for 18 with runners in scoring position. So he still has no runs batted in. Obviously, no home runs yet this year. I will give him that his expected weighted on base average is 313. His expected batting average is 251. So he's gotten kind of dogged on some batted ball luck, but he's still striking out a shit ton and just putting together non-competitive at bats for runners in scoring position. He had 2 strikeouts with runners in scoring position in the later stages of game 1 of the series. He comes through one of those times, whether it be a hit or just grounding out to second base completely changes the complexion potentially of the game. And instead he went 1 for 4 and yeah, he's seemed to have lost his job as the starting catcher. It's nasty. He can't hit right now and hasn't all year. But he's still fresh off of that broken hand, so I guess you give him a little bit of time. Just I don't again, similar to Story, I don't know how much longer you can give, especially now that you have a proven catcher. It's not Blake Sable, coming up to save the day. The leash would literally have to be like debilitating injury for Connor Wong to get sent down in that regard. But although Sable hit a grand slam in Worcester the other day, didn't he? So
I don't care.
Fair enough.
Jordan, are you disappointed with some of the Breslow's this mastermind from Ivy League, some of the depth issues that this team has? Are you a little surprised? Do you give them shit for that? Is it just it is what it is with this budget they're in? Like, do you give them a hard time for the lack of depth, or is it because like some positions they have like an embarrassment of riches? It's like, look at all the pitching injuries they have right now. We can still get a guy out who you've actually heard of who wasn't a bus driver last week.
Yeah.
But then you look at other positions and you're like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. It's weird. Like, first base is whatever. Like, I feel like I feel like I kind of undersell how easy it is, or I underplay how easy first base can be for somebody. Like, if you're a competent individual, like a coordinated individual, you could probably play the position. I got burned by watching Christian Arroyo tear his groin like the 5th inning of his first start at first base, and I'm just like, you can't stick someone randomly there because they might get hurt. Forgetting that it was again Christian Arroyo who gets hurt getting dressed. But yeah, I mean, like, first base is whatever. Catcher, still weird to me the way they approached that this offseason. Like, Grandal, I mean, maybe he just wasn't willing to sign a minor league deal until the Red Sox signed him to one. But, like, if you had him in camp in March, like, Blake Sable wouldn't be your third guy on the 40-man. It would be Yasmani Grandal. And maybe Narvaez is in AAA and breaks out and when Wong gets hurt and comes up and you're in a different situation. Now it's weird. I mean, you can't address every single position on the field. Like, some places are going to get overlooked. But catcher was definitely a weird one for me. I thought he could have done a lot more to improve the depth at that position. I mean, I still think the catching room is better than it was last year.
Yeah.
But that the bar is in hell. Reese McGuire was fucking terrible.
And it is weird because you did trade Teal on top of that.
Yeah.
That you didn't. No, great. You got Narvaez, and that looks like it was a great move at the moment. But you probably should have tried to replenish a little more now that, like, going into the offseason, the expectation was Teal's going to be catching at some point and some point soon. Like, I would have honestly expected him to be the first of the big four to reach the majors if they all ended up here, just because the position was such a need. But, it would have been nice to add a guy. Still would be nice to, if they can find a guy to throw in AAA, I'm all for it. But hopefully Grandal can just be that stabilizing force, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Anyway, Red Sox lose game 1, 2-1 in 12 innings. Sean Newcomb gets the loss after almost killing Kevin Biggio. Literally put a fastball at his temple that somehow got bunted, and then Freddie Fermin walk-off RBI single in the 12th, won them the game. Red Sox got 5 1/3 innings of two unearned run ball out of their bullpen. Whitlock gave up a run in the 10th, or rather in the 11th, that tied the game. I mean, the ghost runner scored twice. That was the only two. The only 3 runs that scored were ghost runners. So nobody allowed an earned run in this game. Just horrible offense. Red Sox struck out 12 Royals. Royals struck out 10 Red Sox.
Jordan, what'd you think of Chapman? A lot of people wanted him to go multiple innings. And what is he, too old now? He can't do that? Is it kind of trying to save the bullets? Because I saw a couple of
in a while.
Yeah.
I think he's done like 5 times in the last 6 years. So
okay.
And similar to like with Kenley, Like, I don't necessarily want my closer coming into a situation that's not clean unless it's like the 8th and you're going 4 outs as opposed to,
Right.
especially like the second inning, like you breeze through the 9th, coming out and like your first batter, there's a guy at second. It just feels kind of odd to me. Like they did this with Kenley too on the road. Like he'd pitch the 9th regardless. So the 10th would go to somebody else, which I thought was odd, but maybe it's a matter of, because I guess with Chapman too, like even as locked in as his command's been for the most part, you never know when it's not going to be there anymore. So rather not have him start with a jam, that first pitch 104 that hits the screen. Never want to put a guy at third right away. But then again, Whitlock came in and his first pitch was 86 that went to the backstop, and the guy moved to third anyway.
My thing was just that I know that recently, like Slayton and Whitlock, it's been kind of a little bit iffy, and I think with them having a guy on second base, it can be a thing. Where Chapman, because he's kind of so in the zone and his control can disappear at any time. Let's take advantage of it as much as we can. And if the guys want to throw 104 and paint the black, fuck it. I want to win. Like I like wins, And part of me was like, whatever. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I kind of, I'm listening to what you're saying. It makes a lot more sense. But I think that I think he would have been fine. I don't think he threw a lot of pitches that ninth inning either, did he? I'm trying to look back now. Yeah, I mean, he did throw 16 pitches. Okay,
threw 16, yeah.
But if he threw like 8 or 9 pitches, maybe I win him. Maybe, but I guess. No, you're right.
But I guess also if he pitches the 11th or the 10th of game, what game? Oh, no, that was the 11th. So Chapman did pitch I'm trying to fucking read this and I'm having a nightmare. Yeah, no, he pitched the 10th. And then Whitlock came in for the 11th and then Newcomb. Okay, yeah. So Chapman pitched the 10th. Okay. Odd. Yep. Never mind. That changes everything about what I said before. Odd.
Okay. I mean, I was just throwing it out there, but whatever.
But if he pitches the 11th inning, then you lose him. And I guess you kind of also wanted to make sure that you had him for multiple games in the series.
Okay.
I mean, you couldn't really project scoring 10 against a game Cole Reagan starts. Right. But I don't know. I mean, Whitlock, I saw some people talking about optioning him after the game, and I'm like, why? He wasn't even bad. I didn't even think he was bad. It was that crappy pitch that went to the backstop that apparently Cora said that like there was 2 different things that rang through the pitch comm. Like Connor called one thing, Whitlock heard one thing. Apparently Connor called something that Whitlock didn't hear because Connor looked very surprised by what was thrown. But
I
6 people heard
it's always Connor's fault. That's Connor's fault. Let's just we can throw him under the bus.
If it was Narvaez, wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, Narvaez would have blocked
definitely
it.
Not.
But but then he hit 96 in the inning and he struck out 2. Like I thought he looked good. I mean, he made like the only bad pitch that he really made that was like 100% on him was to pass Quintino for the RBI single. But like even if he doesn't throw the wild pitch, that single's bringing in a run anyway. But I thought he looked good. Let's not option him because he gave up a ghost runner, please. Let's not.
Yeah, he's not bad. We should keep him around.
Yeah, he's decent. It's not like I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Zach Kelly is not going to pitch any better than Garrett Whitlock has lately. I can promise you that. Nick Birdie probably not either, even though he's been great in AAA. But yeah, game 1, horrible. Did not enjoy watching that performance, even though we just spent basically an hour talking about it. We'll move on to game 2, which there's a lot to talk about. With game 2 in a positive light. But I think the thing I want to talk about first is that is the best Garrett Crochet has looked in a Boston Red Sox uniform, in my opinion. He was throwing absolute seeds. He was getting timely punch outs. I mean, he gave up 7 hits in 7 innings, 1 earned, and the 1 earned was on a pop-up that, I think was like 76-mile-an-hour exit velo that deflected off of Christian Campbell's glove. 9 Ks, which I think it's only like the second or third time this year he's averaged more than 1 strikeout an inning, which is kind of crazy to think about. His ERA is 1.93, and I feel like this was the first time that I watched him pitch, and I'm like, that's the guy they traded for, other than the near no hitter against the White Sox. But that was the White Sox. I don't want to pretend like he faced the Yankees there or something like that, but He looked fucking gross. Brian, what have your impressions been of Crochet so far, and then especially last night? Because I thought he looked ridiculous.
Yeah, I think last night he basically pitched like, the money guy that he is, hey, we need a guy who can, get it done. And I think was the game before everybody analytically and everybody was shitting on him. His arm angle was different. His velocity, he only hit like 94, I think, in the game before, something crazy. So people are
Mhm.
like, oh shit, he's gonna get hurt soon. Oh, good signing by the Red Sox, left-hander, their medical staff, you give the fentanyl to the guys that are hurt, you don't dabble in it, I mean, what are they thinking, But it's kind of, you're looking at the thing and you're like, but then he righted the ship. And I think his fastball, I think he threw a couple like 98, didn't he? And then,
Topped at
his
99.
control was decent. Yeah, 99. 7 innings, only gave up the 1 run. He only walked one guy. The game before he had 10 fly ball outs. So it's like, okay, here we go. But he had 6 fly ball outs, 6 ground ball outs, and then 9 Ks. So he was kind of spreading it all over the place. Threw 100 pitches in 7 innings, which is pretty damn good. It's hard to strike out 9 guys and pitch 7 innings and not throw well over 100 pitches. But yeah, I thought he pitched great, and I think Kansas City, I think they're a decent team. Where it's like you said, when he did it against the White Sox, you're like, well, it's the fucking White Sox. I mean, he did have that game against Baltimore where he pitched 8 innings, he struck out 8 guys, but he gave 12 fly ball outs. So fly ball outs when you're Camden, I mean, the difference between a home run and a fly ball there is like this. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I think it was probably his best game all year.
Yeah, especially when you look at Baltimore and it's like we now kind of see what Baltimore is, and they're hurt.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Tyler O'Neill's not
yeah.
even in that lineup right now, or maybe he just came back, but he's not been playing very well. I mean, they suck. They're like the 3rd worst team in the American League as
Mhm.
it stands. So yeah, given quality of opponent, hostile territory, just lost, you needed him to give you length. You could not deal with another 5 innings, even if he gave up 2 earned. You needed 6+. He gave you 7. And he
Mhm.
got you through the 7th and didn't put a reliever like Liam Hendricks, who was like one of 2 guys who didn't pitch in game 1 of the series, into a hot mess. He came in and he shoved, and that's what you needed him to do. By the way, the Rockies just won their 7th win,
Good for
the
them.
7th game of the year, and they fired their manager in celebration. But they won. They're 7-33. Bud Black, get your ass out of here. We don't win here in Colorado.
It's been rough out there in Denver. They fired the GM and the head coach of the Nuggets, and then it turned the season around. Maybe
Yeah,
Bud Black
and
getting fired, maybe they will turn around the Rockies. I don't know.
yeah, and I think the Avalanche lost in the first round of the playoffs to Dallas. So, and the
Yep.
Nuggets right now are losing to the Thunder.
Hmm.
But yeah, this baseball. I'll get back to baseball. I don't want to go off on other sports.
We aren't doing
Yeah.
Bo Nix takes.
What?
We're not doing Bo Nix takes.
No, not right now. Not at this time. It's only May. We'll get when we get to like July and training camp rolls around. We'll talk. But yeah, Jack, what did you think of Crochet in this one?
I mean, the results were great. And I still think this isn't him at his best. And I'm taking him at his word for that. That, I'm still not, something doesn't feel quite right. I can pitch better than this. And I believe him. And I'm terrified of what that demon is going to look like because this version of him is really, really good. The velocity was back up where you want it, which was good because, yeah, everyone was freaking out over the last start. I wasn't that concerned, but it is noteworthy. Immediately came right back up. He gave up more hits than you probably want. 7 hits, which isn't bad by any means. And a lot of them were stupid anyways, but they still happened. And they were basically all on his secondaries. So, ideally you just get the secondaries working a little better, but he gave you length. He struck out a lot of guys. He only gave up 1 run. I know the one thing everyone's talking about with him, and it continued in this game, is that the extension is not remotely where it was last year. Hopefully that does get back there. And I assume that's what he means when he talks about, he can do better than this and he should be better than this. I assume that goes back to the extension because it has dropped significantly, but he's still producing at an ace level and a top 5 pitcher in the sport level. So I'm not going to freak out about it. And if he wants to, elevate that even more, that's wonderful.
Yeah, this was only the third time this year he's walked less than 2 guys, and the first time since that fateful day in Chicago where he took a no-hitter into the 8th inning. So if there's another level that he can get to, I don't know how vividly you guys remember. I mean, it's not like it was that long ago and we're not children, so we should remember it, but that summer before Chris Sale got hurt in 2018, where it was like every start he was giving you 7, 8 innings, no runs, 1 run, striking out like anywhere between 8 and like 13 every fucking 5 days. If he can still get to another level, like that's going to become an expectation of him this summer, and like it's not very fair because that's like I think Sale's ERA during that stretch was like 0.26 or something stupid. But he's got me fired up. He's got me excited. I mean, he's only really had the one bad start this year, and that was just really a slog to get through, and he only had one really bad inning of that start against Seattle. He's been great. Just what the doctor ordered to, giving you 7. You needed length, and he gave it to you. And some
And he
people,
seems so happy to be here, which I appreciate. He just seems so
he
happy.
he is also the horniest man on the planet. Every time they cut to him in the dugout, he is doing something just grotesque in the dugout. The the boob grab celebration, I don't know what he was like milking a cow the other day. The fake makeout with himself. Like he is a horny individual. I I don't know what his deal is, but I mean, maybe he was
It's
just
a
looking
good
at the
thing they
iPad
didn't keep
watching.
Reese McGuire.
Seriously, honest to God, Reese McGuire. And oh, could you imagine that battery of Crochet and McGuire? Fucking kids wouldn't even be allowed in the ballpark on days that those guys play.
The poor 99 kids eat free. Oh man.
Just the horny socks, man. I mean, maybe Garrett Crochet's watching him himself on an iPad, and he's like, "I just hit 98 miles an hour, and I feel like I'm pitching like shit." Struck out Bobby Witt with the bases loaded, and I think that was the first time we got a taste of him with like he was animated. He like let out a primal scream as he walked off the mound. That was sweet. Like I love when my pitchers do that. It feels like way more frequently that opposing pitchers are doing that to the Red Sox than the other way around. Like Cutter, like I will be a Cutter fan forever because he is a psychopath. Like I fucking love it, and he looks it too. But Crochet was money in game 2, and they absolutely needed it. Gave way to the bullpen. Liam Hendricks, another scoreless inning, though he did give up 2 hits. Brendan Bernardino got the final 3 outs, got a strikeout, lowered his ERA down to 1.76. And we'll talk about the offense now, starting with the quiet quitter of Rafael Devers, who was so just terrible in this game. He was the only guy that didn't contribute. He went 4 for 4 with 3 runs batted in and raised his OPS to 858. I mean, if you're not going to play first base, I need that OPS in like the 1300s or 1400s, buddy. Come on. What a loser, right? I looked at the box score and saw Rafaela next to triple, but it's underneath Devers, his 12th double, and I was like, Devers tripled? I don't remember that. But he's the man. He's been fucking killing the ball since the start of April, and people need to start respecting that man. It's like the fan base is trying to make him want to leave, and I hate that. I hate it. What are you guys' thoughts on the way the offense looked in game 2? I know a lot of the damage was done against the bullpen late, but I thought they really worked Cole Reagans, especially in that 5th inning, but his pitch count was even up there after 4. Shaq, I'll start with you on the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they were hitting. I'd say my 2 standouts would have to be Devers and Narvaez. Having Narvaez hit that home run, even though it was late, it was still nice because if you're getting consistent offensive production out of Narvaez, that's like the nicest thing to happen this season in terms of a pleasant surprise, because I don't think people were expecting, over 700 OPS out of Narvaez on May 11th, and he'd be, one of the top catchers in the sport at the moment, which who knows how sustainable it is, but it's happening, and that's cool. And then obviously it's nice to see Devers just keep on keeping on. And obviously he continued it today. People are just, going to be reactionary. That's Boston sports and the Boston sports media in a nutshell. And the guy is one of the premier hitters in the sport. And I know he had that atrocious 5 days in March. Who cares? It's 5 days in March. And once we get to September, the stats are going to look completely back to normal. And as long as he doesn't have a weird September injury, they're going to look better than normal, most likely. So I'm just happy that they kind of got this out of their system. Hopefully this kind of just wakes everybody up and we can see more of this. We can see Cedon keep hitting. And it's just, I want to see the Sox just put up a bunch of runs because they have the talent to do so. So it should be happening more often.
Yeah, they I thought this was going to happen when they went to Toronto, and then they decided that was going to be the series that everything went to shit, mostly with the bullpen. But looking at the leaderboard right now, Carlos Narvaez is tied for 4th in the American League in WAR for catchers at 0.9. He's tied with Shea Langoliers, despite 40 fewer plate appearances than him. The only guys ahead of him are Austin Wells, the guy that we all thought was going to be great this year, Dylan Dingler of the Detroit Tigers, and Cal Raleigh, who is becoming a superstar, which is just insane to think about, but he's a demon, the fucking big dumper. He's been an animal. And yeah, I mean, he homered. Every time he homers now, I keep picturing the Narvaez that Obi yelled out in Toronto, just the way he yelled it. I got to get that queued up in our sounds so I can just play it randomly throughout the pod when we talk about him. But he's been great. Cedon, who weird timing on a Sean McAdam article talking about how the Sox are growing frustrated with him. He's hitting 350 in his last 15 games. That's you frustrated. I would love to see what your standards are for him. But yeah, Sox smoke the Royals on a Cole Regan's day. 10-1. Absolutely brutal showing from mostly Angel Zerpa, 5 earned in an inning of work late, but Cole Regan's had the 8 Ks, but wasn't super sharp, especially in that 5th inning. Brian, what was your take on the offense? How they look to you?
I thought they looked great, but it's amazing that Campbell was 0-for-5 with 3 strikeouts, and then Story had 4 more strikeouts. He did have the big hit, but your 4 and 5 hitter really did nothing. You still put up 10 runs, and I think it's great that the bottom of the lineup's doing something, because historically, I mean, there's nothing worse than being at Fenway. You're down by a few runs and 7, 8, 9's up, and you're like, oh well, maybe if a guy gets hit or there's a throwing error, then maybe we can get to the top of the lineup and Durant or Devers is going to do something. But when you're watching a game and, like you said, Narvaez has 3 hits, Rafael has 2 hits, it just makes things so much easier. Then you watch a game where they don't score a run for 12 fucking innings. You're like, hey, can someone get a hit here? It's almost like if you get this 10-1 win, we can, take, 8 of these runs and hold on to them for the next game or something, because, every game, you guys, I used to love going to doubleheaders. You see 10-1 the first game, and then the next game, literally an hour later, the same fucking guys can't hit. You're like, what is going on? And that's what baseball is. It's it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, 10 runs is nice. And like you said, Devers, he really needs to start giving a shit. He's got a piss poor attitude. He just basically he's given up on the season, going 4-for-4. So it's just really disappointing to see.
Yeah, no home runs hit in this game from Rafi Devers.
You should have gone 5-for-4.
Yeah, he should have. And he walked. Fucking loser. Swing the bat, right? Walks are for chumps.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you go to the 4, 5, 6, to your point, Brian, we're 1 for... I'm so bad at math. This is so easy. 1 for 14 with 8 strikeouts and a walk. Willie Abreu had the walk. But I will say, in fairness, the one hit was a Story 3-run home run. I will give him some love there. After I pronounced
they should have scored 15 runs though, Jordan, because I mean they left 8 guys on base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Exactly.
like it's 10-1 was nice, but I mean they shouldn't have beat the shit out of this team. And I mean they did, but they shouldn't have, it shouldn't have been like the Celtics game the other day.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And it got pretty nasty for Story too, because he had 3 strikeouts, and then he also had a fielding error in the game, which was his 5th error of the year. Which I know errors aren't like the be all end all for good defense, but the Red Sox are leading the league again in errors, and he had one. I mean, Sogard had one later in the game too, but
Fucking
they
Devers'
ended up.
fault there. Defense is
Yeah,
just Devers needs to fucking play better in the field.
yeah. I'm surprised they haven't asked him about playing shortstop yet. To be honest, with the fact
I've
they asked
seen
him to
Devers
play
play
every position.
shortstop.
That's true. He does have an inning or two there, I think, in his
Yeah, it was
career.
on my birthday against the Angels in 2019, and
Wow.
they were smoking the Angels, and Devers played shortstop the last inning or two of the game. It was awesome.
He's got 3 innings at shortstop in his career. He had one in 2023 as well. He also has 3 innings at second base. Now that's a position I would love to see Raffy convert to. I still think that would be fucking hilarious. I remember talking about it kind of like tongue in cheek a couple years ago, and then I was like, wait, but like Mike Moustakas was like a Gold Glove caliber second baseman. Travis Shaw played second base. You're telling me Raffy can't?
Well, I think he was working on it, Jordan, this weekend because nobody's mentioned yet. Dustin Pedroia was at all 3 games.
Makes you think.
And I think Pedroia was like, listen, Rafi, like if you really want to screw the team, take Campbell's job and just more drama. You know what I mean? Because he's like, fuck these guys, right?
They hate Campbell so much that they got freaking Raffy playing second base.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, I want to play second, and they'd be like, what?
Yeah, Raffy should just throw the Red Sox a curveball his next time talking to the media and being like, they came and asked me about playing center like last night. I was like, what the fuck? Yes, I'll do it. Are you kidding me? I can't wait. Oh man. Wonder what his teammate reactions would be like then. We all they were so displeased with him and they told him to stop talking when he was talking about the first base situation. But yeah. Sox win game 2 10-1 and improved to 21-20 on the season, knock the Royals down to 24-17 and bring us into game 3, the game I was sure was going to be a loss. Lucas Giolito coming off one of the worst starts I've personally seen a Red Sox pitcher have in the last couple of years. Facing Seth Lugo, who was an all-star last year, which I love how Brian has decided he hates him. Like he decided this last year.
Lugo.
He hates Seth Lugo, and I love it. And the Red Sox, Giolito shoved today. He was very good. Got you through 6 2/3 innings. So again, you got your length out of Crochet. You didn't necessarily need it, but you would have loved it from Giolito. And he gave you 6 2/3. 5 strikeouts, just 2 hits and a walk, 1 unearned run, which was his own doing, chucking a ball down the left field line, being a hero on a bunt attempt. But he looked really, really good today. And like I asked Brian before Jack got in here, can he just not pitch at Fenway? I mean, the dude gave up 41 home runs a couple years ago. Maybe he just gets a little tighter with the green monster in left field. And he's like, I just will refuse to give up home runs. And he gets all out of whack, velos down, pitches are all out of whack, giving up singles instead. But yeah, he's looked good in his 2 road starts. Just the 3 earned over 6, 12 2/3.
Mhm.
Jack, what was your take on Giolito? Because you were the guy talking me off the ledge the other day about him. You're like, I'm not giving up on him now, and I'm like, please just get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of very much in the camp of, especially I had after that first start, I'd picked him up in fantasy, and I'm like, I'm sold. And then he gave me that stinker in the second start, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But I was very much of the, okay, I need to see at least one more start here before I'm making any decisions, because he had one good one atrocious one. Let's get a third one out of the way, and then we can start making judgments about Giolito. And he looked really good today, and the velocity was better. He was throwing pitches that weren't fastball changeup, which was great because he was only throwing fastball changeup in that start at Fenway, and I think that was also part of the problem. And I know those are what he primarily goes with, but he does have to mix in other things, or else, it's not going to go well, as we saw. And, you kind of do want a veteran guy at the back ends of the rotation, ideally, just a guy who has been there and a guy who can provide stability. And if he's able to give you 5-6 innings a start and not throw up on himself the way he did in that Fenway start, I'm thrilled with Giolito as a 4 or 5 in this rotation. You had signed him to be the number 1 last year. So if he's now the 4 or 5, that's a good thing. And trust me, he shouldn't have been the plan as the 1 last year, but nevertheless, he was. And so I'm good with it. I hope he keeps it up. I think he gets Atlanta next, and that lineup hasn't been particularly good this year. So we'll see if he can do it again and just keep it going, because I feel better about Giolito than I think I do even about Houck at the moment, even though Houck has been better lately. I trust that Giolito at least has more of the track record there. But, if those two guys with Buehler can kind of settle the rest of the rotation behind Crochet and Bayo, that's good with me.
Yeah, definitely. And I do wonder how it all shakes out when everybody's healthy too, because I know Cutter's a ways away. I don't want to pretend like he's really in the short-term rotation plans. He's probably more like a post All-Star break option. Maybe he's even brought back as a reliever, and then Patrick Sandoval even further down the line as an option. But like when Fitz is back and Buehler's going to be back soon as well, how this rotation looks, I think Dobbins is obviously going to be one of the odd men out. Even no matter how well he does, they're just going to keep him in AAA just to not necessarily protect him, but also there's some pedigree in this rotation. You're not just going to get rid of it because a rookie has 4 good starts. But then like even Fitz, like does Fitz stay at the major league level, at a certain point? And he's been good. Like I don't want to pretend like he hasn't been. He's made me look like a dumbass because I didn't think he was very good. And he came back, he came into camp throwing 99, and then he comes out in the regular season looking pretty good as well. So yeah, if Giolito can give you some stability in the rotation, that's gigantic. And I'll reserve judgment for a little while. I won't get too down. Like I said I wasn't going to do, but then I was like, please get rid of him the other day. But I won't get too high after today's outing because, the Royals win a lot of games, but I look at their lineup. Like I don't like none of them are like really all that good. Like other than Bobby Witt.
And they didn't have MJ Melendez. So.
Yeah, and MJ Melendez. I did realize that there was a lot less stress for me this weekend, which tells me that MJ Melendez didn't play. But yeah, I thought that the pitching as a whole looked fantastic today. Brian, your take on Giolito? You are muted, sir.
I picked up Giolito in the Podcasters League. He gave me 24 points today, so nothing to complain about there. And then as far as not pitching at Fenway, maybe we can do like the reverse Roger Clemens, like at the end of his career, we'd only pitch in Houston. It wouldn't go on the road. We can have Giolito do the opposite, maybe, and then problem solved. And then I think then we'll be okay. Maybe you can put him on the bereavement list or something. And he just doesn't like pitching at Fenway, and see if like they'll buy that excuse. And then you can use somebody else at home, like Hunter Dobbins, who pitches decent. I don't know. But yeah, I just pitching wise, I thought he pitched great today. The velocity was up. Like Jack was saying, he was using some other pitches. He threw away a slider or a curveball and some changeups and things, and he was mixing it up. Where in the other game, I think he was just basically a 2-pitch pitcher. And just looking at the game in general, it was nice to see that you got some good pitching, but then you get some hitting, and it just seemed like he was pitching so well. You don't want to waste that start because of how bad he did in the last game. That's how I felt.
Yeah, gave him his first win of the year, his first win since 2023, and I think I don't know. I could definitely check this, but I don't want to. First win since he was with the White Sox because he was so fucking bad in Cleveland and in Anaheim. I would not be shocked if he didn't win a single game for either of those teams. He probably did, but I don't feel like checking. To be honest,
he won one game in Cleveland, and then in 2003, and then he won one game in LA. Yeah,
that feels so. That feels
2
fake.
games he won. Yeah,
Feels
-5 and -3 WAR.
I believe it. He was so bad for both those teams. It was exceptional how horrible he was. The big thing for me, not even just necessarily the velo being up on his fastball, but his slider, his average slider was 3 miles an hour harder today than it had been the previous 2 starts. He averaged 88.4 miles an hour on his slider today. Like, that's pretty fucking gross.
Yeah, and
Average
last
90.
start threw literally one of them.
Yeah, and today it was his second most used pitch. I mean, he used his changeup 17 times, his slider 19, four seam 43 times. And the curveball was more than just a show me pitch today. And that also, for what it's worth, was 3.2 miles an hour faster today. I don't know what the conditions were at game time, but he looked good, and the velo followed suit. The spin was up on everything he threw. Curveball especially was up 214 RPMs on average. From what it had been, again, the previous 2 starts. And again, similar to even someone like Story, like we mentioned earlier, Giolito, this is just his like 7th start of the year. I'm not even counting the one he got hurt on in spring training because he like tried to grit through it physically and he just messed everything up with his mechanics. This is his 7th start in 2 years. So there's going to be some bumps in the road. I'm also saying that to myself, by the way. I'm not trying to be a hypocrite. I'm trying to talk to myself too about being patient with the guy. Yeah, I'm the guy that I'm speaking to now. 2 for 3 out of Rafael Devers today. He had a fucking nuke off of Seth Lugo, but I think went 440 feet to dead center. He's that dude. I'm afraid for half of the Red Sox fan base. I hate to break it to you, but that man's got an OPS of 888 right now. He's a machine. Like he's catching up pretty quickly right now to Bregman, who's kind of going through it a little bit, not like terribly. Like Bregman's not playing like shit, but he's not hitting 330 anymore. Bregman only has a 63-point lead in OPS on Devers, and the way Devers is rolling, like those hot stretches for him last like 15 games. This dude might have like a 950 OPS by the time we're recording again. I'm not making a call because I don't want to back myself into a corner here, but we might be getting a taste of July Devers in May, and they need it because they got a gauntlet coming up again for them. Willier also hit a bomb today, had 3 hits. He's that dude as well, I'm afraid. Again, to all the people trying to trade him for Dylan Cease in March, that dude's pretty fucking good. Where would they be without him?
He's the good Frazier and Andujar.
Yeah. He is worth more right now than Andujar and Frazier were their entire professional careers. Like, and Andujar's still playing in the major leagues. Like, the value of Willier is through the roof. I don't even he's playing himself into a position where they would kind of be dumb to even find a way to trade him for anything.
Suddenly, like for me, he's kind of the most locked in of the 3 outfielders in terms of like who you want long term of the 3 guys currently at the major league level. I'm the most comfortable with Willier here for the next 10 years.
Especially because he's hitting lefties too.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
the glove is great. It's like it's really hard for me to find a problem with him.
All he had to do was lose 15 pounds due to a virus, and he has turned into like a legitimate all-star. Like, dude's crazy. Dude is crazy. But those were the 2 big swings today for the Red Sox. Story added a hit. They had 8 hits as a team. Devers and Abreu combined for 5 of them. And all 3 runs were scored on their 2 homers. Devers had a walk. They
Cedon bunted.
Cedon bunted. He also took a few pitches, so Sean McAdam and whoever complained to Sean McAdam about Rafaela can sleep peacefully tonight, knowing he went 0 for 2 with a few takes and a sac bunt. I much would rather have that than 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI, but hey, sorry. I'm old school. I like watching him take pitches. I still can't believe the timing of that article. What? He had a triple last night. Would rather he took that pitch? I don't know. I am one to waste no time in shitting on Cedon Rafaela. Right now, there's nothing to shit on. He's playing great. Who's frustrated with him right now? I don't get it.
Jordan, if you look at the numbers though, Duran, they're almost identical right now. So you're happy with Rafael, about how unhappy are you with Duran right now with a quarter of the season already? I know, it's only a quarter of the season. Guys get hot after the second break, but at what point is Duran, like last year was like that Ellsbury year where like he went off the fucking rails? Like, are we coming back to normal on Duran, or how do you feel?
Well, what I'll say about Duran is he is mid slump. Like a week ago, his OPS was like 780. He's like 4 for his last 27 or something. Like he's fighting it a bit right now. I'm not. I definitely have been disappointed with the results for him to this point in the season. I mean, a 687 OPS, his OBP I think is at or just below 300, which is not good for your leadoff hitter. He's missing velo up again. Lefties are still killing him. He's not looked great in left field, but I think he's bought himself a bit of a leash because of how he looked in 23, and then obviously last year, even though he struggled a bit down the stretch as well. I'm not super concerned, but yeah, I'd say results wise, I'm pretty disappointed in what he's done. Maybe I know Cora refuses to move him from the leadoff spot, but maybe for a couple weeks, maybe that's how you get him back on track. It's like a wake up call. It's like, all right, now how are you going to fight yourself back into the leadoff spot?
Well, Connor Wong is not going to give it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Connor Wong's first home run of the season will be game 1 tomorrow, leading off the ball game.
No, it'll be game 3 against Scooble.
And he'll hit 2.
Who would you go with at leadoff though if you did move Durant?
That's a great question. Not David Hamilton. He was just the guy I was looking at when you said that. It's a good question. To be honest, you don't really got one.
Yeah. My brain kind of goes to Willier potentially as an option, just because he does have a good approach and kind of fits that more like modern leadoff guy of like not the speed-based guy, but like hits for power, draws walks, Schwarber-esque, but with less strikeouts and a little less power. Like, so, yeah.
Hear me out. Raffy. How would he feel about leading off?
You asked me to, give up third base. You asked me to move to first base. Now you ask me to lead off. Like,
it's literally just moving up one spot in the lineup too. I mean, people are creatures of habit. JD bitched about hitting second in 2020. I mean, he also was horrible. But maybe he would hate that too. But like, in that same vein, like you don't want to have, like, I wouldn't start the game with Willier Devers.
That's fair.
Like if you moved Willier up to 1, are you moving? Is this become like Willier, then Bregman, then
Devers,
then somebody, then Devers? It's weird. This wasn't the everyday lineup. I mean, Campbell too. Like you can maybe stick Campbell up there, but he's got 2. I feel like he's a little like he's fighting it right now. Putting him in the leadoff spot seems like
you could even conceivably go Bregman leadoff, then Devers, then Campbell at 3 is something you could try. Maybe I don't love it, but I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I mean, I think now that we've kind of hashed out the options, I think we're just gonna fucking ride with Duran, and then when
right, yeah, exactly.
or
Connor,
he's still there,
Connor
Wong. I mean, but okay, so there's going to be a day this season. I don't know when, but there's going to be a day this year that Roman Anthony's on the major league roster. Is that when Duran isn't the leadoff hitter anymore? I mean, obviously, if Duran's cooking, you'll keep him in the leadoff spot. You're not going to mess with something that's working. But if Duran's OPS dips to like 660 and Roman comes up, do you drop Duran to 6 and then Roman just leads off? I could see that as a possibility, but also Roman be fresh into his major league career. It feels kind of rude.
Well, there's also a case that if Duran drops that far down and Cedon's still hitting, are Roman and Duran both in the lineup that day? It becomes the big question at that point.
Right. Yeah. And then, Willier's not going anywhere, but I think that, Rafael's defense is exactly where it was last year. And Duran's really dropped off defensively. So he's not the, oh my God, he's as good as he was last year. And then, he's not really walking that much either, where it's like, at least if he's not going to hit the ball hard, at least he can walk with his speed. A single is a double is a triple. Yeah, I know we stole home, but I think it's every week. It's like, what guy is going to be the guy that Anthony's going to take his job? And I think early on, we all thought it was Willier before the season started. Maybe. Then it was like, all right, well, Rafael, yeah, I know he's got money, and that's the only reason that he still has a job, because of the money. And then it might turn into Duran. So like it's constantly moving around of like, how is Anthony going to get in the lineup? But none of us have brought up the point. Anthony could come up and not do well. Like, I don't know, like Mike Trout did when he first came up, or any of these other studs. Like, it's not a guarantee you're going to be Christian Campbell and, all of a sudden you're just going to, you're going to figure it out. Like, there's no guarantee of that.
I mean, even Christian's struggled lately too. Like, I mean, he started red hot, but I mean, the last, handful of games, I mean, he didn't play in the series finale. He's been going through it. I'm not worried about him long term.
No.
And obviously the organization wasn't worried about giving him an 8-year deal that could be up to 10. But like, there's going to be growing pains. And I guess maybe you wouldn't call up another rookie in the middle of one of your rookies struggling in case both of them suck at the same time.
Then you're fucked. Yeah.
Yeah, then you're screwed because you got two guys that are going through the bumps and bruises of their first big league season. It's an interesting situation. I mean, is Duran somebody that if he goes on a tear going into the summer, do you trade him? He's got the least team control as far as, profile, like play style, and like Duran relies on his legs a ton, and he hasn't been playing a very good left field. Again, I use this as my justification for Willier earlier in the year. Would a team like Cleveland be like chomping at the bit to get Duran in center field with Steven Kwan in left? That's a very good defensive center and left, and two fucking irritants to face at the plate. The amount of ground ball singles that those two would hit would drive me up the wall. I would hate to face them in the playoffs. But I mean, again, we're talking 2 months down the line from now, but they've got to find a way at some point to get Roman Anthony into the lineup. I don't know how it's going to happen. And like Brian said, every week it's a different player that's playing themselves off the island. And I know you had a slip of the tongue when you said Devers, but for some people they might actually think it's Devers. So we'll keep that an option out there for them. But if Devers moves to first base, then there's your alleyway, and then it's Nick Sogard, and that's an easy one for me. I'm more than willing to say Nick Sogard goes back to AAA for Roman Anthony. Sorry, buddy. I appreciate your 1 for 8 with a walk, but goodbye. Red Sox win game 3, 3-1. This one thing I do want to mention, in addition to all we've talked about from this game, Justin Wilson's been kind of fucking gross, right? Like he's been really good. Like he comes into the game and his entry song at Fenway is "I'm a Sucker for Pain," which is like, I feel like I brought this up the last like 4 times I've been on the podcast. It's the worst song possible for a reliever, but like he needs to listen to it every time he comes into a game because he's dealing right now. 2 more strikeouts today in a scoreless inning. Got the final out of the 7th, and then gave you 2 outs in the 8th. Weissert finished off the 8th inning. So they're starting to like weirdly build like bullpen rotations, if that makes sense. It's like your A high leverage is Whitlock, Slayton, Chapman, or Whitlock, Slayton, whoever goes first, then Chapman. And then your B team obviously still is Chapman because he's your closer and he's got a stranglehold on it right now. Maybe poor choice of words. For the closer position right now. I couldn't have been the only one that like had the thought in their mind about Aroldis Chapman on Mother's Day. Like also. But anyway, like the B team is Wilson, Weissert, and Chapman. And funnily enough, the B team's been better this year. I hope it's not like a mirage here with Justin Wilson, because he's been through the ringer with his health the last handful of years, and he was like unfairly hated all offseason for like legitimately zero reason. Like he had a bad ERA last year, but entering September, it was really good. And so far this year, he's got a 2.77 through 13 innings of work. He's been pretty good. 16 appearances. I think it's like third on the team. Justin Wilson. Breslow might be allowed to take a bow for that one. I'll wait a little bit. It's only May 11th, but he's been good. And then also, I don't want to disregard Bernardino. He didn't pitch today, but his ERA is 1.76. So, and it's not like the underlying data on somebody like Justin Wilson's bad. Like he's got a 2.12 FIP, a 2.77 xFIP, 14 Ks in 13 innings, and the walks have been down lately. They're up from last year, but lately they've been treading in the right direction. He's getting a ton of ground balls. Last year he had a 38% ground ball rate. This year it's at 57.6. So he's been really good. I want to give him his flowers because he was like ready to stand in front of a firing squad in March for like legitimately no reason. People just hated him. I don't know why. Because he stood in the way of Luis Guerrero, I guess. I don't know.
I think also it was just during the offseason, like all the like good left-handed relievers were still on the market when we signed Wilson. And so that's kind of where the resentment came from. So it's like, oh, we didn't get Tanner Scott. We got this guy. But this guy's been good. I don't know if it will hold up over the course of a season, but you somehow have 3 above average left-handed relievers at the moment. And I'm not going to be mad about that.
Yeah. And like entering the year kind of felt like it was going to be 0.
Yeah.
To a degree. I'm just going to quickly look and see how he's done compared to Tanner Scott this year. Yeah, about the same. I mean, Tanner Scott's ERA is a lot higher, but under the hood metrics, Wilson's got a better FIP, expected FIP. Scott's got the lead on that. From a WAR standpoint, Scott's got 5 2/3 more innings, just 0.1 WAR advantage on Wilson. Wilson's got more Ks per 9. Justin Wilson is not allowed a home run, knock on wood. Tanner Scott has. Washed, ? He's got 9 saves. I mean, he's got a 1.93 ERA. I shouldn't even joke and say he's washed. But but the tandem of Wilson and Chapman has been just as good, if not better, than Tanner Scott. So we take those. So yeah, Red Sox win game 3, 3-1. Take the series in Kansas City, which is a big series win for them. They're now 2 over 500. And I'm just waiting for them to finally stay over 500 and like never go back to 500. It's going to be tough because now they're going to Detroit. And Brian, I don't know if you want to give us the pitching matchups for this one so we can preview it.
Yeah, well, I always like to check them and see how, Sundays are, an off day at ESPN and they always fuck this up. But we have the actual right matchups today. So we got Tanner versus Jack and Job. Then we got Bayo versus Casey Mize. Hunter Dobbins again, which probably going to be his last start. I think we're all in agreement on that. Against, a guy who, you're not going to beat that guy. Hopefully, you might not going to beat him, but hopefully you beat the bullpen, in Scooble.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun little series. And we get our first live look at Javi Baez center field. And he's been like really good out there, which is annoying me. He's actually hitting
leading that team in WAR among position players. I'm pretty sure
it's possible. The AL Central's stupid. Like the Tigers are considered like a buzzsaw, but like their roster just doesn't do it for me. He's got 1.1 WAR. He's got a 127 WRC plus this year.
Should we have signed him instead of Story?
No,
I know.
No. Definitely not, but he's definitely having a good year. 3 home runs, 19 driven in. He's honestly turned into Sadon. 3.4 walk rate, 24.1% K rate. He's just happening to find the field a lot more, and he's playing a really good center field to his credit. Jack, why don't you start it off? How do you expect this series to shake out for the Red Sox?
I love to be optimistic, But I also look at the fact that Detroit has the best record in the American League at the moment. You're going on the road. You're facing Scoobel. You don't have Crochet for any of these games. That's a whole bunch of combination of facts I don't like. So I think, objectively speaking, I would say 1-2 in this series. I'd say I feel good about the middle game, the Bayo day. I'm a little concerned about the Hauk start just because I'm still not all the way back in on Hauk. And even though Job's ERA isn't great either, I think the stuff is good. And I think his stuff is better than Hauk's at the moment. And as much as I've liked what Dobbins has given you, you would need Crochet on the mound in that game for me to pick the Red Sox against Scoobel. So I gotta go 1-2 here. Don't love doing it. First time picking them to lose a series this season. But that is where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, I can't say as though I blame you for going there. And I'm honestly I'm debating on being right there with you with 1 and 2. But ironically, I still think the Sox are going to take this one tomorrow against, or I guess today for those listening. I think they're going to take game 1, Hauk against Jackson Jobe. I think Hauk maybe has figured something out a little bit. His mechanics changed a bit. They talked about it last couple times out. The velocity's been way up for him, and he's hit some 97, 98, which we didn't even see last year out of Tanner. Like, I don't remember how many times he got his velo that high. Maybe a few times over the course of the season, but he was hitting it pretty regularly the last couple of times out, especially against Toronto. And then Jobe, I feel like the Red Sox are never wrong just early when it comes to getting lit up by a starter that's not having a good year but has great stuff. They did it a couple years ago against Scoobel as well. His ERA was like 4.5 and everyone was freaking out. I'm like, this dude's nasty. I'm sorry. Like, he's gonna dice these guys up. But I don't think I just don't. I'm not buying the Tigers lineup. I just can't do it. A team again, like Jack said, he's like Baez is like leading them in WAR right now. I just can't. It's actually no, it's not him. These are the
It's
top
McKinstry.
3. Yeah, these are the 4 Tigers with above 1 win above replacement. Zach McKinstry, Spencer Torkelson, and Dylan Dingler. And Javi Baez. By the way, Dylan Dingler has walked once this year in 106 plate appearances. So means Tanner is 100% walking him in game 1.
Doesn't Gleyber Torres have a 1.0, or is he back under 1?
He is at 0.8,
Yeah.
although he is hitting the ball very well for them.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good team. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying them. I think like the guy that scares me the most obviously is Kerry Carpenter, and then there's Riley Green. Like, it's those 2 guys, and then the rest kind of touch and feel. Although Glaber's always killed the Sox, but I do think Hauk takes game 1. Casey Mize has been really good this year. Bayo has really walked the tightrope, and a team like Detroit that's like got a bunch of these random dudes killing it right now. Again, Dylan Dingler. Javi Baez has a 127 WRC plus. Zach McKinstry is a 126. Like, he's going to have to be locked in from a command standpoint. If he walks 3+, he's going to have a tough day. I'll take the Sox to lose that one. And then despite Dobbins' best efforts, we might get a generationally great Tarek Skubal start, because I feel like Cora won't have a punt lineup, but it's going to be like a day that they just throw Connor Wong out there and just like kind of let him die a little bit. And so there's 3 strikeouts right there. It's a great day to stack his strikeout line, I think. But I got the Sox going 1 and 2 in the series as well. Brian, what do you think?
I go 2 and 1. I think you win the first 2, and I think the third one is Scooble's going to pitch great, and then Hunter's going to pitch not as great, but and I think you can get to their bullpen. But I think eventually you're going to lose. It's hard to win 3 in a row against any team, let alone the team that's supposedly the Tigers are decent. But you're right, their lineup is like really, like you look at like the WAR leaders like you just did. You're like, like no one's scaring you really. And then Torkelson, you're like, really, come on. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Bale's kind of figured it out. I think Tanner kind of will get his shit together. And then Dobbins. It'd be really funny if Dobbins, like, pitches the best out of that whole 3. and then still get sent down. And then like, well, he still needs to work on some things. He's like, yeah, you need to work on like, blowing me. Like, really? Like, I'm fucking the man right now. He's sending me this bullshit. I love like, it's too bad he's not dating like Kate Upton or somebody like famous, and they could just like, blast Twitter or something, and it'd just be like a
keep
big
him up.
story, just like all over the internet, But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I go 2-1, but yeah, I can definitely see 1-2, like you guys are saying. It's definitely possible.
The Tigers are so fake, man. Like, I'm looking at their team. This is like their bullpen. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with an ERA under 2. Under 2.5. Will Vest 2.12, Tommy Canley 0.61, Brennan Hanafy 1.45, John Brebbia, who played for my summer ball team on the Cape, like a billion years ago, 2.45, Chase Lee 1.13, Brant Herter 2.21. Then they got a couple guys who've Bailey Horn actually has a scoreless outing for them, and Tyler Owens 2 innings, 2 scoreless innings. Like Bo Breesky's like the guy in that bullpen that I'm like the most terrified of, and he sucks this year. 6.52 ERA.
But they get Jack Flattery, so I mean, I don't know why they're not, just tearing it up. I mean, he's just having an amazing year.
Yeah, he is. He is
basically bad.
Yeah, 4.61 is his ERA, but Scooble
1-5.
2.08. He is 1-5. Casey Mize 6-1, 2.53. Reese Olson 3.03, and then Job, and then Kaider Montero at the back end of that rotation. But they're what? They're like 17 over 500 right now. They're ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. They're really riding the wave of the second half vibes because they're just sticking with it. They're only 11 over 500, not 17. I don't know where I got 17 from. Anyway, any final thoughts before we wrap it up? I know we're up over an hour 40.
It was nice having a Mike Monaco series. I liked that.
It was. It was. Love Mike. He's the busiest man alive. That dude will be in like Australia probably in like 2 days for like no apparent reason, working something. Good dude. Every time he comes into the booth, I'm reminded of how much better he is than Dave O'Brien.
The bar is low.
The bar is low. Obi's been a tough listen once again this year. Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of the Pesky Report, episode 468, presented by Beyond the Monster. For Jack and Brian, I'm Jordan. Until next time, peace out and go Sox.